Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we are back with another Destiny Counselor Reacts video. Today, we're going to check out a video by Aztecross, which is blown up a little bit on Twitter, at least what I have seen, and people are upset. And I'm a little confused why. But apparently, he has something to talk to us about, and I'm interested to see what it is and react. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to jump in and we're going to react to the video itself and see why are people pissed off at Aztecross.
Whew. Fellas, we got to talk, man. I am getting whiplash like mad. In one hand, I have many of you saying, Cross, we need more grind. We need to be challenged. We need a reset. Yes, just last week, we did a video, and you guys were saying, hey, we need a reset within Destiny, which actually blew my mind. But I walked away from that conversation going, wow, the Destiny community, their appetite as gamers has evolved. These fellas are hungry, man. They want to grind. But then, this past week...
I mean, I think in general, gamers nowadays... That's the reality. I think that is the reality. People are just about consuming. I think the amount of, you've got to stop to think that the amount of time that most people play games, like heavily, is not actually healthy. I'm the first to admit, I play a godly amount of video games. Streamers, content creators, all that jazz, play an unhealthy amount of video games. It was never intended to be consumed at that rate, but it is, and it's become the new norm. Will we ever recover from it? Probably not.
Bungie stated that they were going to be raising the power cap next season in Revenant by 10 levels. And dude, the community lost it. You guys lost it. And I'm not just talking about the folks over here on Twitter or even Bungie forums. I'm talking about people within our own stream. Everybody was dropping L's in the chat. Everybody.
At least 80 to 90% of the community sees this as an L. It's the 10% that don't. I'm going to hold my thoughts about that probably at the end.
Was upset about this. By the way, these are the same individuals just a week ago that were saying, hey, the game has become too casual. We need to reset. We need to get rid of things like weapon crafting. So I think you can understand the position this puts me in. Not that I'm bringing feedback directly to Bungie, but if I was, hot damn it, fellas, you're making it tough. In one hand, you want to grind like your life depends on it. And in the other hand, you see 10 more power levels to grind for, and you spit on it. Keep in mind, at one point, we used to have to grind hundreds of levels for every expansion. For seasons, we would.
I mean, we still do. It's still a thing that we do. We just grinded a bunch of levels, so
have to grind for 50 power levels. This is 10 levels. Now listen, I will agree with certain things, like upgrade modules being annoying. I do think there needs to be something in place where eventually you
I completely forgot about upgrade modules.
Inject 100 upgrade modules, and boom, everything is now leveled up once you
hit the pinnacle. Everything automatically goes to pinnacle, like everything in your vault. Who does that hurt? Bungie. It hurts Bungie because then it kills literally their retention.
Of course, reach that pinnacle cap. The resource management in this game can be annoying. And don't even get me started on the glimmer cap. I know it's been raised, and guess what? It needs to be raised again. So
I just want to point out that when they announced that they were getting rid of legendary shards, this is going to be a tangent. So I was amongst the first people to call them out and say, this is stupid. The reason for getting rid of legendary shards was, well, it's hard for new players or people that don't play a lot. And what I tell you, I said it was their way of resetting the people that had stockpiles of it that trivialized and made it to where it didn't matter, that they didn't have to worry about that being a part of the game, and they wanted to wipe that clean so that forced everyone to be on the same playing field and grind and have that basic retention again. Anyone who thinks that, including Bungie, that thinks that Destiny has a real economy, for the love of God, go play Warframe. That's a real game with a real economy. Destiny is a looter shooter that's wearing a Halloween mask that says MMO on it. Destiny's not a real MMO. It is a Halloween mask. I'm like, guys, look at me. I've got a mask on. I'm playing MMO. I'm an MMO, guys. No, there is no such thing as economy in Destiny. It's all bullcrap that Bungie makes. And when this is a great example, and why I want to talk about this, that Bungie likes to make things seem like it's pro gamer when it's really just pro company. Bungie always had the opportunity to increase access to legendary shards. Bungie always had access to make legendary shards easier to get. They could have reduced the cost of things that legendary shards were needed for. The same thing is happening with Glimmer. People are complaining about getting Glimmer is hard. We need more space for Glimmer. But the reason they put a cap on it is because they want you to continuously grind for it over and over again. If you have more, that means you need to do less. And if you do less, that means you're playing less. It is consumerism and economics 101. How can you make your consumer and your players come back? Artificial grind. And not like good, fun, artificial grind. I'm talking about it is all pro company. Hold on to that. We're going to talk more about it.
I understand it for those woes. But to me, 10 power levels over a 4-month season, which is what episodes are, they're 4 months. They're long. Fellas, that's hardly nothing. Most of us will probably get that within the first week, if you even care about getting it within the first week. Something in which I don't really care about. I normally reach that pinnacle cap by week 2 or week 3 because it doesn't really matter to me to get it within the first week. There were so many people losing their mind for the power grind for final shape. But if you notice,
which I will say is a nothing burger, especially if you wanted to do day 1, which is the only thing that really mattered at the first week or whatever. Yeah, it was the first week. If you did the legendary campaign, you were set for the day 1. So in that regard, it was a nothing burger. Now for grandmasters and all that, sure, that you complain all you want. I think it was like we had enough time before grandmasters came out. What was it, like 4 or 5 weeks before grandmasters came out? It makes sense. Like fundamentally, a grind for expansion makes sense. Like I think even WoW does that for expansions. Like you have a power grind. Now other games, do they have seasons? Yes. Do they make you do power levels? No. We'll get to that in a minute.
Notice you've had a lot of time here for that grind. And on top of that, even if you did reach the pinnacle cap, we've got contest mode for the dungeon coming next season. Meaning if you're already at the pinnacle cap now, 10 more levels is probably not going to help you. But cross.
And let's be honest, something to add to what he's saying. If it's like day 1 raids, if you are already at the pinnacle cap now, you probably will be fine for the day 1 dungeon, unless Bungie does something scummy that forces you to grind for a week straight. Which it's Bungie. Who knows? They probably would do something scummy like that.
Let's be real. Isn't this just a way for Bungie to boost engagement metrics? Look, that was a tweet by my friend Kujay. He stated right here, going back to requiring power increases for seasons and episodes after the removal of such was so widely celebrated amongst the community is a huge slap in the face. At least be honest about why you're doing it. That is a naked attempt to boost player engagement metrics.
And it is. Anyone that sees this as a pro gamer is blind. It is pro company. It has no value in the game whatsoever. And we'll talk more about that because I do want to retort some of his claims. I'm really disappointed in Aztecross. I'm going to be honest. If Bungie literally pulled out their nuts and put it on the table, like, here's our nuts. This is for retention. I would have more respect for Bungie if they were honest, if they were really transparent. And that's part of the problem is Bungie, likes to mask things, making it seem like it's pro gamer. It's for you guys. They're really good at pretty words. Bungie is literally a split-tongued serpent when it comes to words. Like, they are so good at selling you based on words. But I would like if they were I would have more respect for them if they were transparent. Put that dong on the table and say, hey, we need to keep you guys playing. All right. That's respect. More than what other games do.
He then followed by saying, hey, Bungie, since you're bringing back seasonal power increases, can we get an update on your progress to address pinnacle power slot imbalances? It's been 4.5 years. Now, Jay does have a point about the slot imbalances, meaning if you have a situation where all you need is a helmet, they should be weighted as such, where a helmet would drop. I thought Bungie did.
that will. What is he gonna say?
At some point, perhaps them just acknowledging it was my way of thinking.
This is funny. I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. They'll never do that. By the way, they are never going to actually change this. Why? Because why would they turn on this pro company light switch that forces retention when part of the grind is the RNG aspect? You getting the same helmet over and over again or getting the same item that you don't need is what they want. It is perfect to keep people grinding and retaining them. But again, no one's saying it's a good grind. It's not. But it's part of the game that they want you to play. Not how you want to play. It's what they want you to play when it comes to the retention game. Now, talking about this specifically, Bungie often acknowledges, we hear you, but nothing really comes of it. And again, all this is adding to my counter argument to Aztecross, my retort. We're adding this under the umbrella because it's all coming together.
They addressed it. RNG protection is important, and if you're in a situation where you're like, dude, I just need a helmet to reach that pinnacle cap.
Good luck with that.
Keep getting gloves, chest pieces, boots, class.
It'll continue to be that way. Retention.
Helmet, then obviously that's a problem. Now, Jay wasn't the only one. Paul Tassi even came out and said, yeah, no, thank you. We're all good here. Another player even saying, so this is what we call desperate for playtime.
Absolutely.
It's a number grind. Lol. Now listen, fellas. I get it. This is the classic Bungie giveth and taketh away. But I gotta ask the question, fellas. At what point did we...
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here.
Hey, Ryan! This is not what I want to see right now, Ryan.
As the Destiny community becomes so goddamn casual. Hold up, fellas. I'm going to be elitist right now. 10 power levels? I got day one raiders out here saying they can't do 10 power levels. From dual Destiny getting shit on and saying, oh my...
I think there is fair criticism when it comes to an exotic class item, which was very hyped and advertised, and then people bought into it. Like right now, you can do everything exotic mission-wise, even the Choir of One, and it is the easiest exotic mission like I've ever done. I like Dual Destiny, and I got everything I wanted out of it. But I think there is some fair criticism. But I also think it's a little extreme as well. That's just my thoughts. So I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle. It doesn't actually impact me, but I can see both sides of the story.
My God, it's too much to find one other person to run a mission one time. The folks pissing on themselves because they can't get a raid item to drop, despite us having options in the game available to us to increase our RNG if you do those triumphs. The reality is, fellas,
I think that's I'm not gonna save this for at the end, but that's a little insincere. I have done many LFGs, and some of those missions you could end up spending, or those challenges you could end up spending 2 to 3 hours. Also, with the player population, yeah, it's harder to find good groups nowadays because most of the people who are good have left the game. So yeah, it's a little insincere.
You're going back in the direction of D2 vanilla. Have you seen the amount of exotics you have in your inventory?
Okay, I think that's a little, that's a stretch. That is, I don't think he realizes the reason why. I mean, I know he realizes, but I think that is also very insincere. The reason why vanilla was so bad is because they ripped away random rolls. That and what he's about to say, which I'm probably going to agree with.
It's insane. We are heading in that direction, if not already there, with Destiny being so casual. We have a checklist of things to do. Everybody gets on.
And reaching a 10 level cap is also on that checklist. Ding, ding, ding.
grind their little red borders. They get their deep side
Yeah.
harmonizers from their battle pass.
Uh-huh.
They get the weapon pattern, and then they get the weapon at the crafting, and that's it. Now, here's the thing. Some of you are going to say, Cross, you're being toxic right now. You're a streamer. You get to play this game whenever you want. I should be able to keep up with you. And my reply to that is lick my ass. Les, who works a 9 to 5 every day, who positively contributes to society. He's got a dog. He makes it to Maverick Games. He's got a fiance, and they have date night every Friday or Saturday. Listen, Les is not supposed to be able to keep up with me. I'm just leveling with you fellas. You see, what Les experience should be is while he's on date night, he's rushing through his entree. He's telling his fiance, honey, we're gonna have to skip dessert. She gets frustrated on the way home and says, why? Why did our lovely evening get cut in half right now? And that's when he holds her hand and says, darling, I'm sorry. I had to make sacrifices this evening because Cross got that incandescent heel clip roll aberrant action, and he's having the time of his life. And right now, at this very moment, he's assembling a raid team to go farm for that Chaos Reshape Nullify. And sweetheart, I could spend this moment with you right now, but just know if I did, in my heart, I would not want to be here.
I'm not dumb. I know he's memeing right now. He's being sincere, but then he's also memeing at the end to, I think, try to pad some of the criticism that he knows is probably coming his way.
In my heart, I would want to be grinding for thy loot. And the last thing I want to be is insincere to you. That right there, my friends, is called sacrifice. So what? Les ends up divorced 3 years from now because of Destiny. It happens, fellas. We all have to make our decisions. But instead, Les doesn't have to worry about that. He doesn't skip dessert. He continues to stay out with his fiancée. They have a lovely evening. He continues to contribute positively to society. And when he logs into Destiny, well, he's pretty much identical to my character. And that's no bueno. 10 power levels, fellas. This is such a small thing in the grand scheme of potentially getting Destiny to where it should be. Yet folks are losing their mind. So I ask again, when did we as the Destiny community become so motherfucking casual? Dude, Destiny's becoming so routine now. People have like this mental checklist they do every week. They log in on Tuesday, they check the Eververse store, they do the weekly story. They don't grind for anything because they already got red borders for everything. They save up deep side harmonizers for getting any potential weapon borders that drop. They're maxed out on exotic Ingrams. Exotics literally are meaningless. They're so meaningless now that
I want to point something out. I was one of the biggest critics of the change. Of the fact that Bungie removed exotic farming from Lost Sectors. You get a blanket generic exotic engram. It was, and they put in the focusing and said, oh, this is so good for new players. It's going to let everyone, bitch. The only one it benefits is the veterans who can have a horde of freaking focusable exotics. What new player or a casual player has a full inventory looking like that at all times? What are you talking about? We had a grind. It was Lost Sectors. How many hours did people farm a Lost Sector in hope of getting not only an arm piece that they wanted, but the arm piece that was the exact exotic they wanted. Not only that, was it the exact role you wanted? That was a grind. That was a good grind. But no, we had to remove that because we're increasing the player experience. And people came out in droves, try to defend Bungie like, oh, you're blowing it out of proportion. Like these people do about the 10 levels. It is always people coming up to and defending Bungie when it's fair criticism. And then suddenly we're doing full circle where people are like, oh, I can't believe Destiny's becoming casual. You wanted this. What are you talking about?
That they shouldn't even be called exotics. What happened to the day where that guy in the opposing team would annihilate you and your entire squad? And you ask yourself, how did he do it? How does he have an overshield? How does he see me through walls? That's one-eye mask, bitch. That's how he did it. And guess what? He's gonna do it again and again. And you ask your friend, how? How do I get such an exotic? And they would reply, use code Aztecross at gamersubs.com to increase your RNG. And even though
I'm a G Fuel guy, but someone tell me if it sucks.
Sponsors. I'm not gonna lie to you fellas. It didn't help. Code Aztecross didn't help. RNG was fickle. I bought the crystals. I went to a lady. I said, hey.
Oh no, my favorite
Listen.
shirt.
Oh, you should use OxyClean. I just gave.
How many ads do you have in your video? I usually do too.
In the West. How shall I increase thy RNG?
I am actually surprised that he's not even bringing up Destiny 1. Like, with someone almost 10K hours from Destiny 1 beta, who also isn't like I do stream, but who has a literal job outside of video games. Yeah. Grinding for like Vex Mythoclast. That was a nightmare.
And dude, no lie, I walked away with 2 crystals,
Gallahorn.
both of which were $40, which seemed extreme. But she said it would increase my RNG. Now I know you're probably thinking, that's crazy, Cross. Crystals, increasing your RNG without charging it with sunlight? How foolish of you. But no, really, guys, we will go to
I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Something will drop for us in this game. And that's because we desire that thing. I bought a money tree. I held it every time we killed Atheon. Do you know how hard it is to do DPS with a money tree?
Is that D1 or D2?
Class dropped.
I think that's D200. Oh, that's no, it's D2.
Desired anything within Destiny. This game has lost that aspiration for greatness.
Yep.
It's given us this checklist of things to do. And I know Bungie says it's because we need to make the game more penetrable so that new players would find penetration. But the only thing getting penetrated around here is my gaming experience asshole. And not in a good way. When an exotic used to drop on the ground, I would jump for joy. When that palindrome dropped with rangefinder and quick draw, I knew the stars had aligned. And when you fuckers
I still have mine.
I wept. For weeks I wept, as it should be. This loot should
Why
be
would you
so
delete
covered
that?
within Destiny. The power fantasy should be so envied that you, despite
Huh?
having a family and loved ones, you start looking for things to sacrifice because it's goddamn worth it. Families come and go, fellas, but what you earn in video games stay forever, unless it gets sunset or in the worst case shut down. But the point I'm trying to make is I have not cared about anything in Destiny for a very long time. I've got this cheesy chore list bullshit that means nothing in the grand scheme of things. I get you all have balanced lives and I respect you for that. But in order for Destiny to be successful, hell, in order for any game to be successful, the degenerates, dare I say we, the degenerates, should be rewarded.
Okay, let's talk about it. I'm gonna just say this right now. I think he's very disingenuous. I don't know if it's intentionally, but I think he's not looking at the broader picture. I mean, going back to what I was talking about, I talk about Bungie using pretty words and trying to paint it as pro gamer and not pro company. And it is. It's pro company. First off, I want the crowd that's sitting there saying, we need 10 more levels. We need something to grind. I'm sorry. Destiny is a looter shooter, right? Don't you play to loot and then shoot what you loot? Like if I wanted to play a game about leveling up, I'd play Pokemon because that's where levels actually matter. What does farming levels really do? You talk about prestige and needing something aspirational. What does that mean? You play the game to have fun. You don't play the game. Oh, no, I'm the artificial number, and I'm making fun of the people in like comment section who have done my video. Clearly, I had someone come to me in my comment section and say, I'm glad they brought it back because it gives me a reason to play old content. So the only way, it's not for the loot or the fun of the actual activity that brings you back. It's because you need to farm a fake digital number that provides no actual benefit at all. It's not the loot. It's not loot that you want. It's not the fact that the activity is fun. You need to be able to play old stuff. And the only way to do that is if you farm a number. This is the Destiny community in a nutshell, or at least the 10% and 20% that defends this slop. Again, I also want to argue against a lot of things that several things he said. But I just can't, I want to focus on the whole 10 first. because it really isn't the big deal that I want to talk about. But again, if you have to do 10 levels in order to play the game, that says more about you than anything. But let's get to the real issue. He talks about it, and this is where he's skirting one of the big issues. This is a looter, a shooter. What happens when you take away the loot? What happens when the loot is not aspirational? He talked about exotics, but what about the roles? He talked about the god roll of Palindrome, but he's not addressing the issue. The issue is that crafting exists. You shouldn't be the reason why people are doing checklists is because you get those red borders so easily. It's the fact that once you get the crafted weapon, you get the 5 little crafted weapons, you get a god roll on demand. And I know this is going to be elitist, but crafting was one of the worst things in Destiny's history. It killed one of the most important aspects of a looter shooter, the loot. Chasing the loot. There's no chase. That's why people are so desperate. But I need 10 levels, because instead of playing a game to chase loot, they're chasing a digital number. Like, look at Last Wish. People were hyped that Last Wish came back with juicy rolls. But did that last long? No, because everyone farmed it out and got it crafted. And so any random roll you get from that now is pointless. It is pointless. Do you know why Into the Light was so popular and so successful? It's because it brought back the aspirational loot. Whenever you got that shiny drop and it had the rolls that you wanted, you literally felt this joy. It was Christmas. Santa came by and slapped you on the ass. Sorry, that's Diddy. Literally, I sold my soul for 2 months just to find those god rolls. That's when that was Destiny. And a lot of people said this is what Destiny used to feel like. Crafting was one of the worst things to introduce in this game. And I don't want to hear, what about seasonal content when it leaves and people can't get it, FOMO? We literally have a world vendor that brings all the world drops on daily rotations. You're telling me we couldn't have a vendor for seasonal weapons that you can turn in that season's engrams for all these different weapons? You could, instead of having, if you see a gun that you don't want from the new season's choice, you can take those engrams and use that as a vendor. But one of the big things he's ignoring is crafting. That is why people are so fixated on, we need something to chase. Man, if you had loot, maybe you would be chasing it. But he's right, everything's thrown out casually. It's not the levels that's casual, it's the loot that's casual. And you're not gonna fix the game by bumping up digital numbers. You're gonna fix the game. I wanna be in the game. I wanna play the game. And how you gonna do it? Give me Into the Light. Give me the god rolls. Give me the juicer, like the shiny variants, the double perks, and make me actually chase it instead of just handing out red borders. Every time a season, every time a new episode is going to come out, I do not care about the weapon. I instantly delete everything in my inventory. Not a red border? All right, delete. Oh, god roll. I don't care, delete. I'm working toward my red borders. That's one of the most disingenuous things about this video. The second one is it's not even about, well, for some people it is, but it's not even about the plus 10 levels. It's the fact that Bungie came out and said, you know what? We hear you. We hear the community. We are going to take a step back. We're changing the power grind to only expansions. We hear you. You don't like it. You don't enjoy it. Bungie did that. And if it was just like a small minority, as people like to make it sound, then Bungie would never change it. But it's because the majority of players did not like the power grind that they changed it. And then suddenly, now they've decided we're gonna change it back. You know what's great? Let's look. Let's just look for the funsies of it, shall we? let's look at it. Destiny 2 Steam charts. Wow, look at these numbers. 90% of the player base is leaving. And what's sad, look at these numbers and look at the launch of Destiny. Look how worse we are now than we were at the launch. And Destiny 2's launch almost killed it. We are worse off. We were better with not random rolls. Destiny was better off with stale exotics that were just handed out to everyone. The game was doing better than it is now. And you know what doesn't make any sense? Bungie's like, you know what? We need to build morale. We need to bring players back. We need to really have the community unite again. We really want to tell our players, we're listening to you. And you know what says we listen to you? Then doing the thing that we intentionally changed because we listened to it originally, we're bringing it back because F you, that's why. And that's the problem. That's the problem. That's what he's not acknowledging, is that it is, if we were at, like, let's put a little scenario. Let's say Curse Osiris, they removed the power grind or whatever. Let's just say that expansions, again, at Forsaken when it launched, was only going to be the power grind. Like, expansions were only placed. That means like Seasons of the Forge, all that. You didn't have to worry about power levels. Maybe it was already like that. I don't remember. It's been so long. But let's just play the scenario. If they said at Forsaken's launch or in the middle of it, like, hey, we're going back on what we said. We're going to change things. We're going to make it to where you always have to do some kind of higher level grind. People would have been more accepting at that time because Forsaken was at such a good spot. The game was in an improved spot. Morale and community thoughts about the game were up. The community is at an all-time low right now. This is not the time to be taking feedback and throwing it in the dumpster. This is the kind of crap that's making people leave. When you take player feedback, which is funny, DMG was literally on Twitter asking for feedback. Like, bitch, why are we giving you feedback if you're just going to throw it in the dumpster? What's the point? And that's the problem. That's the problem. People have given feedback and Bungie does not listen. And that's why people are upset, or at least I'm upset. Why a lot of people in my community are upset. And I think it's very disingenuous to make it, oh, it's a nothing burger. No, it's a something burger. The fact that you feel the need that you have to grind 10 levels to have fun tells us there's a bigger issue, which it is. It's crafting. You should be chasing loot, not levels. Go play Pokemon if you want levels. You should be playing the game because it's fun. It's pro company. No matter how you try to reshape it, recolor it, this is pro company. It is meant for retention, and it makes no sense. But Bungie is trying to package it, saying it's for the in-game players. I have almost 10K hours in this in Destiny. And I'm telling you, I don't care. It is such a pointless nothing burger. Again, if the community and the game was in a good spot and morale, everything was up, this would be like a one-off situation. People would get over it. But this is just adding. It's like stairs. It is just a step on the chain of things that Bungie has done that's stupid and anti-community. Again, I don't appreciate Aztecross making a video and like trying to belittle the main issue and completely skirting the main issue. Just put your balls on the table. Crafting is a problem. And you're going to piss people off. But you know what? I just gave you a very simple solution to fix FOMO for new players. Literally, I have given you, it's in the game. I didn't give it to you. Bungie gave it to you. They literally have a world vendor that gives you old world loot. It is there. It is already solved. We don't need crafting. That's how you fix it. Go back into the lifestyle, make things that are chaseable. People will stick around because the good loot will bring people back. It is just, it's crazy. What world do we live in where we're going to ignore the main issues? The two issues I have again, the loot chase is removed from the game. Crafting is a problem. And Bungie is ignoring player feedback. That's it. That's why people are upset. I don't know. I just, you could try to argue and bring facts and intelligence, and people are still going to say in the comment section, you're just complaining. Yep, this is not going to bring players back. And none of this, if they don't turn the ship around and fix some of these core issues, people aren't going to come back. That's just it. Again, I like Aztecross. I think he's a little disingenuous with this video. But outside of that, he's pretty much right on the rest of it, on the mark. Exotics, too easy. I wish they never got rid of the grind. I wish they didn't give everyone a free engram. Everything else outside of like the power level, like, again, you should play the game because it's fun and you enjoy it, not because you need an artificial number. Go play Pokemon. As always, I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Until next time, game out.